Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Triangle of Fence. I'm Munish, and as always, I'm joined by Nishant. Hey Nishant, what's up? Today's episode, we have to talk about Steph Curry. I mean, there's got to be nothing else because
Yeah.
never seen anything before like this, right? How can you stop this guy? He's having three defenders on him. There is nobody else on the team who's 20% as good as him, probably,
Yeah.
and he's still getting out incredible output. Like, what he's averaging 40 in April. How ridiculous is that? At 50+% of shooting from the three, he's shooting. This is the most incredible stat I've ever seen. 10 plus threes in a game. He's done it 21 times, 6 times this season, 4 times this week.
Yeah.
The only person who's done it more than 4 times is Klay Thompson, who's done it 5 times. So Steph has more 10 plus threes in a game this season than anybody else ever
In their lifetime, except
in their
Klay
lifetime.
Thompson.
how mad is that? Have you seen a streak as good as this ever from anyone? I know that James Harden a few years ago had 32 consecutive games of 30 plus points.
Yeah.
How would you rate that versus this?
Apples to oranges. There have been several streaks. I mean, the most flashed on screen comparison was Michael Jordan to Kobe to Steph, which is players above 32 or 33 was the cutoff, and
Yep.
um, consecutive games scoring 30 plus, blah blah blah. So each hot streak has its own significance. I'll tell you what's like. I can't compare this to James Harden streak. It's a whole different situation, different numbers, and we're not comparing like for like. But what's impressive about this streak, and we had this debate in the afternoon as well as to people were bringing up Jordan in the Wizards era, 39-year-old Michael Jordan, back to back 40 something and then 51. And back in the era of hand checking and all. I'm like fuck off. Like everyone in that era played with hand checking. Why do we say it now? Like I don't know. Like there was Godzilla on the court or whatever. Um, so I don't buy it. B, hand checking and all of that. Notwithstanding, that was a 39-year-old washed up, and you can say it. He knows it. Washed up Michael Jordan, who played for the Wizards. Once in a blue moon, he'd show up and drop like this 50 piece, and it'd be a masterclass in mid-range shooting because he barely shot any threes. But that's about it. He didn't get. Are you kidding me? Do you think Michael Jordan at 39 in the Washington Wizards of all teams saw the kind of defensive heat that Steph Curry sees night in night out? Where he's the only guy that plays basketball on the team on the Warriors.
Yeah. Yeah.
And people know he can pull up from anywhere. People know he has a sick handle, etc., etc. So that triple against Boston, he was hitting threes over triple teams. It wasn't even
Yep.
so hand checking or otherwise. The hand checking is just it's an inefficient defensive strategy. Strong players grew up playing against hand checking. They knew how to work their way around hand checking. Defenses are smarter today. They're better organized. They're stronger. They're fitter. They're faster. They have analytics. They know how to block shots better. They know when to foul, when not to better. And when you combine all of that with the fact that um, Steph gets double teamed or sometimes triple teamed, I don't get hand checking or not. No player gets out of triple teams like that shooting threes the way Steph does. So it's astounding. There's no there have been several impressive streaks, but no streak quite as unique as this. Like you can compare Jordan's streak to Kobe's, the 95-96 Jordan 7-game streaks to Kobe. You can do that. You can maybe compare even Harden to both of them. But this is something else. I've never seen shooting like this. It's downright ridiculous. I think he's now at a stage where he's Steph Curry is attempting 12 threes a game and he's shooting at 43 or 44% for the season or something like that,
Yeah.
or higher than that.
That's what I was
just
coming
insane.
to. His averages in the previous months were 10.5 attempts, 12.8 attempts, 10.9 attempts, and 11 attempts. This month in April, he's attempting 14 threes a game, and this is despite the first 4 games he was averaging 11 attempts. So in the last few games, the last 6
16 or
games, he's been
17.
averaging around
Yeah.
16, 17.
Yeah.
And you know what? Weirdly, that feels he should be attempting more. It feels less because if you have a 50% probability of one shot going in, you should take it. And I feel 17, 18 is still not doing enough justice to how many shots he's taking. It's probably I'm just being very greedy out here, but it seems like it's working.
But he's efficient too. That's why that 50, 40, 90 becomes so significant. Near 50% field goal shooting, 40% plus from 3, 90 plus from free throw line. What that means, and this is where the whole Jordan, all of those arguments fall flat because Jordan and the Wizards, those were inconsequential games against shit teams and shit defenses against like Cleveland Cavaliers and
Yeah.
Charlotte. These were the teams he scored those
Yeah.
against. These guys doing it against like Boston and Philadelphia and
The last 6 games he played the Bucks, he played the Nuggets, he played
yeah,
the Celtics, he played the Sixers. So that's the three of the top four teams in the East, and then Denver Nuggets were
exactly.
the favorites when that match was going on. Like they were the favorites in the Western Conference because Jamal Murray was fit at that time.
Yeah, so A that, but B the efficiency of it all. When you're doing 50, 40, 90, what does that mean? That means you're barely wasting anything. It
Yeah.
also means if there's a shot available for your team, it should go to you. Now, by default, given how shit this team is, it goes to Steph Curry anyway. But when you're comparing him against some of the great streaks and some of the great performances of yesteryears, you've got to look at shot volume also. Like Kobe Bryant in his last game dropped 60. I loved
Yep.
it. There's no player I like more than Kobe Bryant. No one, not even Steph Curry. I loved it. Has huge nostalgic value. But let's face it, I think he took damn near 50 attempts in that game to get to that 60. Like nobody else is shooting the ball. Versus, even in that Wizards team, Jordan got a bunch of shots off. Steph's shooting it with incredible efficiency. Those percentages mean he needs lesser shots to get to the same numbers as the other guys.
Yeah.
And that's what's most incredible. I think you had shared this stat earlier where
Yep.
Steph is like, what was that thing about fourth quarter minutes and
He
points?
he ranks 334th in the league for fourth quarter minutes and ninth in scoring in the same time. That's I don't even know what to say anymore.
Yeah. That's like Giannis level number. Like Giannis's second MVP season. Like he was playing like
Yep.
2 minutes, scoring 50 points and just buzzing off to rest for the rest of the game. Yeah.
Now we can all agree that this has never been seen before,
Yeah.
right? And now here's my low-key case for an MVP pitch. Now we always spoke about how a top 3 player or top 4 team player always needs to get. This was the case against Jokic when Denver were not doing that good. This was the case against Lillard when the Portland Trailblazers not doing good, and they're not doing good even now. But we've never seen things like this before. We've seen Russell Westbrook get the MVP when Oklahoma City were not the top 3 teams, but he averaged a triple double that season, and he's still doing that. But when you shoot 10 threes 6 times in a season, when you're taking this team that would have been a 10-win team to a 500 plus team, do you think there's a case for a player like Steph Curry being in that MVP conversation? He might not win it, but do you think he should be in that conversation?
In the conversation, sure. I don't think he won't win it, that's for sure. I don't think he has a top 3 case either where he, like the podium finish of MVP voting. I don't think he has that either, because Russell Westbrook, that was an aberration. That was an entire season of sustained a triple double average over 70, 80 games. That's insane.
Yep.
Steph Curry, for all that we've seen, it's still a streak. It's not a hot streak. It's not fluky. This is skill. This is just pure genius, but it's still a streak. When you look at his season numbers, those we've seen before. It's not hitherto unseen. Granted, we've seen them only from Steph Curry before, but we've seen before. It's not unprecedented.
Yep.
Like if you take Steph Curry at his peak just before Durant showed up, and probably even the first season that Durant was around, this is how he was playing. I mean, in fact, he was driving to the rim a whole lot more also, because there was so much space because of Durant and Clay and Draymond stretching Durant especially stretching the defenses. So Steph would slash and drive to the basket a lot more. But this was his level of play. His shooting's just gone to another level altogether. But again, statistically, not quite. This is more like the Kobe Bryant versus a lot of the other players. Even if there's a player as good as Kobe Bryant, in your head, Kobe Bryant's better because the shots are tougher, because they look more graceful, because it's on double teams, not like maybe another player won't even get to that situation where he's trapped by a double team. Maybe he's smarter in getting to his spots, but you'll still think Kobe's better because of the difficulty level of shot. So that's higher this season. But the season numbers, the averages, it's amazing, but it's not something that, oh my God, we've never seen anything like it. Let's just put everyone else on pause and make him the MVP. Should he deserve a mention? Absolutely. But in his own right, I think Lillard's been outstanding, and he's nowhere close to winning the MVP either. It's Jokic right now. Luka, by the way, has been balling out for months, and he's not in the conversation, or at least for the top 3, because of his slow start. So I think it'd be incredibly unfair to see Steph win it, which is not going to happen, not by a long shot. But he deserves a mention for sure. I think a top 5 top 5 in the MVP category for sure, because on that bomb team, putting up the numbers that he's doing, facing double, triple teams, and the numbers are changing so fast. He was just a touch behind Bradley Beal.
He's gone
Right?
ahead of him.
He's gone, right? Yeah, okay.
Yep.
So he's leading the league in scoring.
Yep.
Outstanding on that team. Wow. So deserves a mention for sure, but not winning it.
We at the start of the season, I remember we had this conversation where this was the year that Steph had to prove himself all over again because the 3-point shooting had caught up. We mentioned Lillard
Right.
was there. We mentioned Trae Young was there. Can we put an end to that discussion now? I mean, is it over? Like, is he proven himself that that was not a discussion even worth taking?
I said it at the start of our season. I think even before the season started, when we recorded an episode, I said two things. I said, A, I'm not betting against the Steph Curry team to not make the playoffs. And you know what? As long as they're 10th, I still think they'll make the playoffs. All it takes is 2 games.
Yep.
That's one. 2, I said this then, I said before the All-Star game, there is no debate whatsoever. It's not even close. All of these kids start coming and shooting threes here and there, and they think, how many times in the group have I not said, y'all must have forgotten, wait till Steph Curry comes back this season? All this Trae Young nonsense talk. It's ridiculous. Anyone who's seen Steph at the height of his past, 2015, 16, 17, you would learn to fear that shot. No matter where he releases it from, what angle, how many defenders are on him, you learn to fear that shot. There's nobody, and I'll say it any number of times, nobody that can shoot like Steph Curry. Dame Lillard has his strengths. There are things that he does that Steph does not, including he's a better defender. They started out both being absolute trash, but then Lillard's been improving at a steady pace. So if you're arguing who would I pick, Steph or Lillard on my franchise, there's a debate there. But if we're arguing who's the greatest shooter ever, it's ludicrous that we're even discussing this at this point. And I think Steph's kind of put that to bed. He's also put to bed. Hold on. This is the evolution of Steph Curry from high school. Nobody gave a damn, skinny kid, to college, not really a highly touted recruit. Nobody wanted him, picked up by a random college team. Up until this point, kind of like Steve Kerr. Maybe that's why they connected. Yeah, I think Steph Curry's mom mentions in some interview that he was a skinny kid, and she said, "Don't worry, coach, I'll fatten him up for you." And he said, "No, we'll take him just fine." And they used him for what he was. Came into the league, got a pretty high pick, I must say. Though if anyone would have known what's coming, it would have been number 1 overall. But got a pretty decent pick. Then came Klay Thompson, and who the hell knew what they were building there? And then all of a sudden, you had the Splash Brothers, and I remember this was around 2012, 2013 when people started talking about this on subreddits. Is this the best backcourt in the NBA? And this is 10 years ago. I barely knew what a backcourt was. Like, I'd been watching basketball forever, but I wasn't down with the lingo. You know what I mean? So that's when I first heard it. And then from there, these two became the undisputed kings of shooting in the league. And yet there was a question mark. Can they win the chip? And then they won the chip, but then there was still a question mark, especially on Steph Curry. MVP, this, that, and the other, outstanding player, blah, blah, blah. But finals MVP, Iguodala, really? We thought it was Curry's team. He shrunk in the clutch. And it happened again. It happened in that Houston Rockets series when we went to 7 games where he missed a bunch of clutch shots and dubious decision making. And then, of course, they blew a 3-1 lead. And again, Kyrie made the shot of shots and Steph did not. Greatest offensive player on the planet couldn't score in the last 3.5 to 4 minutes of game 7, right? From that point to people saying Iguodala carried him in one finals, Durant carried the team for the rest, blah, 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 blah. This was much needed. There's no Durant. There's no Iguodala. Draymond's a shell of himself. There's pretty much no big man worth anything. Whoever was there was a rookie and he got injured anyway. Not even Klay Thompson. It's just ripped bare. I'm sure people were smacking their lips saying, now he's going to get exposed. Boy, were they wrong. And this is why I say I don't bet against Steph Curry. Anyone who's seen him at his height of pass will know you can't fluke those things. It doesn't matter who else is on court.
This team is probably worse than last year's team in terms of experience, right? And that team was a 15-win team out of 70 or something. And you can see the difference. They've already doubled that tally already. They're 29 wins, so almost there. Now, we're talking about an MVP, double MVP player here, including an unanimous MVP season. Now, and we thought he'd reach the peak of his powers. He's just proving us wrong. He's reaching higher peaks. What do the Warriors do here to help him or help themselves win a title next season? You know that Klay Thompson is going to be back. You never know how he's going to come back. You never know if he's going to be as healthy. don't think Draymond Green is that player anymore. What we knew from a few years
Yeah.
ago. So what do the Warriors do from here? Of course, you got to cash in now and help him win a chip or
Yeah,
help
for sure.
themselves win a
Yeah.
chip, right? So what do you think is the option available for Warriors?
Yeah, the good thing is they've been smart. They have a bunch of assets. They have young players. They have future draft picks. They have existing players that could be flipped for value. Oubre, Kelly
Mm-hmm.
Oubre Jr., Wiggins, maybe even
Mm-hmm.
if they want to move him on. So this is a dream job. If you're a GM, what
Mm-hmm.
other job in the league would you want right now? You have a franchise that spends, that supports. I mean, they've been paying God knows what luxury tax for some of the worst records in the league. So franchise that supports spending, they're pro winning. They're all about creating a dynasty. Coach is set, sorted. Your two superstars are set, sorted. You have Draymond Green, who even if you can't bring the same level of play, you know that upfront at least, so you can plan for
Yep.
it. But he does bring mentorship uh,
True.
and all of the intangibles that come with a long-standing,
Yep.
team ambassador kind of guy. So he's there, and he's a decent player. He's not what he was, but he's still a decent player.
Of course not. Yeah.
So, so this is like a dream project for a GM. If you're told take this to the promised land, this team, so then you're thinking, all right, cool. Wiseman, good enough to be a part of a chip winning team in year two. He's missed a lot of blah blah blah. You do your assessment. If yes, he stays. If no,
Mm-hmm.
flip him. Yeah, that's a high value young player. You'll get a fair bit in return, especially from the smaller market teams because he's still on his
Right.
rookie contract. So that's lucrative for them.
Mm-hmm.
So flip him. Absolutely flip Kelly Oubre Jr. So I know we're getting into the specifics now, but the idea is, you know what you have. You have possibly the most elite backcourt in the league.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Spare maybe the Brooklyn Nets, Harden and Kyrie. Nobody else compares. So you need a wing. Ideally, you
Mm-hmm.
need a two-way wing because Draymond isn't the defender that he was. Klay Thompson's an excellent defender, but Steph Curry never really defended at high level. So a two-way wing is in order. Wiggins is decent, but if they had to upgrade any one position, I'd say they should go all in on a two-way wing player and then get a decent to half decent big man in their set with some
Mm-hmm.
shooters off the bench, etc. Playmaker, especially if Steph's resting, who's running the show. So they know the pieces that they need to get. They have the clout to get it. Warm weather city, big market location, free agent destination, franchise, dynasty, Steph Curry. I mean, as a GM, you should smack your lips and get to work. This is doable. I don't think just bringing Clay back into this team makes them a chip winning team, but it's doable. They're a move or two away from it.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting team to watch. Not just in next year. I think even this playoff. I think they're the most nightmarish matchup for anyone. I think if it's
Nah.
going to be the Mavs, they're going to hate me. I mean, it's the one-off playing game, right? You don't want to face Steph Curry at his
Oh, in
best.
the playing game,
One,
yeah. In the
yeah,
playoff,
yeah. I mean,
absolutely
over a
not.
series of seven, that's going to be difficult.
Yeah,
But that one-off playing game, you would hate to be the
yeah, for
Mavs right
sure.
now if they have to face Steph Curry. You would hate to be the Trailblazers if they have to face Steph Curry.
Yeah,
So yeah, this is the most fun team to watch.
yeah,
I never thought I would say that to a team that's 10th in the Western Conference, but they are. And I can go all day about Steph, but I
yeah.
think we run out of time for today. And that's all for today. Catch up
All right,
tomorrow.
man. Cheers. Take care.
Bye.